record. Hello, everybody. This is LucifeRApollo with a new podcast, the first one for 2023. There has been a lot of talk and news about a strange object in the sky and extraterrestrials. So I said to myself, why not make a show about the subject? Today's title for the podcast is The Cosmos, Interdimensional Beings, UFOs, and Other Peculiarities. I hope everybody enjoys it. We have several guests in the Discord, so we should have a good, interesting chat. The first question for you guys, are we alone in the universe?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
Definitely
why?
not.
Well, it's just simple mathematics, but we have several people here who have witnessed the paranormal, and it's not just me saying this. We all definitely feel there's something out there.
Like, I wouldn't say it, like, it doesn't have to be aliens, like, as other civilization, but could be, like, other paranormal stuff.
Oh,
We
absolutely.
haven't even explored this Earth. We don't even know what's in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there could be another civilization on this Earth somewhere, under the sea or under the mountains.
What if the universe was actually without life? Would you guys consider that as a possibility? I mean, everybody seems to think that the universe is teeming with life. But what if we were the first ones to actually inhabit this universe? Have you guys ever considered that?
Yeah. I suppose then it would be our duty to spread ourselves amongst the stars.
Yeah, I agree. If we were the first ones, this opens the opportunity for us to shape the universe look on how everything is going to be. It will not be a really bad situation. What do you think, Anomaly?
There is some out there, like, detecting them. I've heard, like, I believe there are, like, watchers that, like, oversee humanity. They're, like, I think they own the solar system. Some they call them the Anunnaki. So technically, this is their farm or solar system, and it's basically quarantined from the outside world. Like, there's a universal law where older civilization aren't allowed to interfere with younger civilization, or else
Yeah.
they get in trouble. So that's why we're protected by more powerful races. And unless once humans mature enough, then you can get contact by ETs. Otherwise, it's just like, you know, it's like the wizard world, how they deal with muggles. That's how it is with humans. They have to hide. Yeah, it's like they're like the magical wizards. We're the muggles. So we're too dangerous. Right?
Yeah. We will. What do you
It's
think?
like-
Are we alone in the universe?
Not really. I've been remote viewing other civilization, and like I've been able to get visions from out there, and I do feel there are civilizations out there.
Yeah.
Trying to remote view in the solar system, the universe, like, especially the higher dimensions. There's more life there. 3D.
Okay. What do you think? Are we alone in the universe, or is there something more? Maybe there is something in there. What do you think?
I think you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
God.
Yeah.
So what I think is that we are together with everything that we imagine,
Mm-hmm.
So if we imagine that there are extraterrestrial, then we are together with them. I think that everything that we consider it's springing from the human consciousness anyway,
Okay.
And as we are functioning only inside the human consciousness, even if there are anything, other creatures outside of our consciousness, which we never encountered before, we will not be able to acknowledge them. No?
Yeah.
So all these extraterrestrials are just the product of our imagination, you know? So if someday we will meet one, it will be because we imagined it anyway before, you know?
So are you implying that the universe is not real and that if we wish it to, we will see whatever we want to see?
Yeah, I think that everything that we see in this universe, you know, in our reality, is exactly what we want to see.
Yeah, it's possible. What do you think, Syed? Adgat? Adgat?
Well, I made contact with them in 2005, and I really enjoyed the telepathic connection that I shared for a brief moment in time with what I believe to be extraterrestrial life. So my stance is unique. I've observed them personally with witnesses, and I believe that they're here desperately trying to stabilize or make contact with us in some sort of way that is beneficial to everybody, but maybe they don't know how to do that right yet, or maybe people are not prepared. I don't know what the issue is, but they're definitely here.
Okay. Dudanon, are we alone in the universe? Is there something else, something in there, or you don't think there is anything in there?
I believe at this time that we're definitely not alone on multiple levels. There's interactions with consciousnesses that are psychic, consciousnesses that are extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional, consciousnesses that are spiritual, and consciousnesses of other people that have developed forms of communication other than spoken and body language that cross boundaries. People are slowly becoming more and more psychic as well.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's not necessary that they communicate with us visibly, you know, through spaceships and coming down. I mean, they could communicate through psychic means, right, guys?
Wait, how are people becoming more psychic? What's causing it?
If I might, it
Yeah.
has to do with the precession of the stars. Basically, the precession is what is it, 28,000 years. And we're at the very start of a new cycle, which means that magic is at its lowest point since, but that also means that it's been going down and down and down all these years. And now it's starting to go up and up and up for another 13,000 years. We're at the start of something, I think, quite majestic.
How often you guys think the cycles last? There is often conversations about cycles every 12 to 13,000 years. There is like a destruction and a renewal of humanity. It is possible that the pyramids, are aspects of a previous civilization.
And that would have been at the maximum of the cycle, and I believe that they used magic to build these things.
I think they use mathematics, science, architecture, understanding of the cosmos. Perhaps what we think as magic is just advanced science.
Yeah.
Anybody else wants to answer the question? Yeah.
Well, my big point is that we're at the start of the new cycle, and things are just going to go up from here.
What do you think the new cycle will bring?
Well, only time can really tell, but I believe this is going to bring an awakening that we're either going to perish or we're going to survive and thrive. And I believe in humanity. I believe that we're gonna pass the test.
Okay. And if we don't pass it, I guess we reset
Yeah.
and be, no?
And then it's not really our problem anymore now, is it?
Well, from the things I see, like, there's too much division. People aren't united. It's increase, like racism. So I don't think, I've heard of Penny Bradley. She's she was from the secret space program. She says that she has a dim look on the future because she sees this pole shift, and from her sources, they say that humans are regressing, getting more tribalistic, and they're just gonna kill each other off. And
I'm more optimistic. I believe we need to put out a positive energy into the universe.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, like I said, this cycle, it's just renewed, which means we've been going down in magic. These turmoils and trials that we've been put through are because we've been receiving less and less magic every day. And now we're starting to get more and more magic, and people are starting to awaken. People are starting to think. People are starting to notice.
That's good. I like magic.
Is magic and the greys, the extraterrestrials, could there be some connection between one and the other?
All right. Well, like you said, the advanced science, it's indistinguishable from the magic. When these aliens last visited us during the Ice Age, all their technology was described as magic. But now that we're a more mature civilization, maybe we will recognize that it's not, it's something we can harness. We can make this technology. I have a very excited and positive outlook on the future.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because the magic just increases from here. And the things that we have the potential to do, we're going to have the abilities to do. We're going to have the abilities to, navigate the stars and feed everyone. And, everybody's going to have their own little robot pal and the good things.
Well, the more we advance in technology, the more magical it will feel. But
absolutely.
Depends how we use that technology. We could use it to destroy the world, or we could use it to develop the human species.
And that's what I think the test is. I believe that's the test. Do you just destroy yourselves with the technology, or do you use it to progress and further your species? And only time will tell what'll happen. But in my view, if it goes sour, then we're not around to really care anymore. So there's only one option, and that's success.
Well, that's true. Does anybody else wants to answer the question? Are we alone in the universe? Anybody?
Nobody.
Okay, so let's move to the next question. Are the events with some of the governments, like the USA, attempting to track destroy objects in the sky that they claim might be UFOs, is it something real, or perhaps just a campaign of distraction to move away the attention of the masses from the economic issues, social problems, the war in Ukraine? What do you guys think? We will. The cat? Okay, you do.
Okay, I won't hog all the airtime here, but I do have a view on this. I believe that when the aliens visit, we will all know. I think this we've been visited before, and I've seen the footage from these fighter planes of these objects that move completely impossible. But I believe that the visit will be something that it'll be very obvious.
So what we see now, Could it be just a distraction, maybe, of the intelligence agencies, just to keep us away
Yeah,
from?
absolutely. And, what is it that we all know? The Project Bluebeam. I think this is Project Bluebeam in action. I think they're trying to make another news story that takes all the news. I noticed during the balloon saga, especially, there was a lot of events that were going on during the balloon saga. Davos, most notably, the big economic forum there in Davos. We didn't hear any news from that. All we had was balloon, 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 balloon.
Yeah,
It's absolutely a distraction. Yeah.
yeah, that got me suspicious about that subject. Weibo, what do you think?
I think that we will have some 99 balloons. I mean, let's be honest in here, all the alien agenda was set up somewhere after the World War II, exactly to distract the population, I mean, there were many, how to put it, hidden experiments, military projects, and all that, blamed on the aliens, of course. And whenever there is something that we don't have to know about, it's easier to point us to the sky and show us some stupid things in there, claiming that they are UFOs and so on. I mean, it's easy to trigger people's imagination with that. And also, it's a very, how to put it, easy way to blame anything on these so called aliens.
Hmm.
It's an enemy that you cannot see, actually. If you see it, they blame you and say that you're crazy. If you don't see it, you're stupid because you don't see it. So it's so funny.
Yeah, it's
You
just
can make.
it's so suspicious that the news and the government, and we know that the news are usually part of their propaganda. So it's very odd to see the government and the news working together to spread the alien agenda. So that's why I'm
Whenever you
thinking that.
will see this
Yeah,
in the news, you will have to ask yourself, why do you see that in the news? You know?
correct.
Yeah. What
And
are you not seeing?
if there would be aliens, I'm sure that they will not show it in the news.
I
They
think
will
you're right.
try to
Yeah,
get there first to see what they can gather, what info from there, what can, devices, whatever they can get from there, but they will not put it in the news. Unless there is such a big UFO, big as a city, and they can't do anything to hide it, you know. That's how it get in the news. But otherwise, what you see in the news is all bullshit, and you have to ask yourself, why do I have to see this in the news?
yeah.
What is hidden behind that news, you know?
Edgar, what do you need to say? What you wanted to say? Side.
Oh, I'm nothing.
What do you think about what we're discussing? Are the events we see on the skies government propaganda, CIA uh, control agenda?
It would be very silly for them to be shooting at anything that they don't know for sure is ours or another world's, because that would be setting for bad expectation in
Hmm.
future interactions.
Anomaly, what do you think?
Yeah. For I think that government already has the UFO tech, and they're just releasing like tidbits, like small pieces of the information. This thing they're trying to steer the disclosure narrative into their version, so they can control it, blame it on China. They're gonna say it's all the crafts are China. They have it. They all, it's originally from them. That's gonna happen.
Do Dan on any opinions?
Based on what's been seen and what's been read about the recent events that have gone on since the first of the year, I believe that it's definitely a distraction from the greater theater of world events still going on, which are a stage for the greater events that have yet to come outside of the controlling narratives. Because there is the overarching narrative of a reset in the wings that's coming. And the moves for that are definitely being hidden by all the disease and war going on.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. Spectre, nobody. What do you think? Nobody?
Sorry, I'm just I'm on my car right now, so I'm not sure how good my connection is.
No, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, all right, sounds good. About the balloon, is that what you're asking?
No, we are asking if what we've been witnessing in the news, with all these balloons and so-called UFOs and paranormal activity in the sky, is it real or is it government propaganda to perhaps remove our attention from other issues such as the economy, the Ukraine war? What do you think?
I think
Honestly, when I saw that balloon, they shot it down and they have debris and everything and videos of a balloon, and I just thought it was some sort of thing to scan the ground, for underground bunkers, because there's a lot of those, and they wouldn't have any clue how to detect them without some sort of device that was lower to the ground than a satellite. So that could be a thing. That could be a reason why that happened. As far as it being paranormal, I'm not sure. I can't say definitively.
Yeah, I mean, what do
Well,
you
I
think
think
about?
the
Yes.
reason why they're bringing this shit up is because their Ukraine psyop is failing. Bring in, like, people aren't interested anymore, so now they have to bring in the other bullshit, which is the alien agenda. That's
Mhm.
one of their cards to play. The final cards left.
Okay. Spectre, I didn't ask you the first question. Are we alone in the universe?
Me?
I think
Yeah.
we're not alone in a sense that we're not alone on this planet. I think it's very silly to think that we're the only ones inhabiting the Earth. Because I mean, Einstein's even said, there's like 7 dimensions, so that we cannot perceive. If you see animals in nature, there's certain animals that other animals can't see, such as like the gazelle can't see Bengal tigers, because the gazelle could only see a certain amount of colors, and to the gazelle, the Bengal tiger is green instead of orange, so it blends with the background, sort of like Predator. And that happens in nature. And I'm a big believer that nature is the best teacher. If you see that there, it could be happening somewhere else. We could be, not alone on the earth per se.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to the what he just said? Kat? What do you think?
No, that's a really good point. If something that is imperceptible to our senses is around us, how would we even know where to look? It was kind of like pondering that, and that's scary. I don't have an answer for that. That's terrifying.
Okay. Anybody else wants to add side anomaly? Okay, let's move to another question. Could other beings exist in the same space we do? For example, could other beings of different nature be occupying the Earth, but in different dimensions, which does not allow us to perceive them?
That kind of goes to the last question with the where Spectre made the point of the camouflage tigers. They're like, how would we detect something we can't perceive?
I imagine that something that is so advanced beyond our capacity will be able to just be like the wind, invisible to
Yeah.
you, you know. So
Yeah, but the wind, like you can feel the wind. That's the wind is in our dimension.
yeah,
These things aren't in our dimension. You could walk right through them. You wouldn't know.
exactly. That's basically what I'm trying to say. That they could be here with us, and we will not be able to perceive them in any way, with any type of instrument or capacity of any kind. What do you think we will?
That's absolutely normal. We have limited senses, right?
Hmm.
More than that, your brain can decode only the information that was already available as a memory. If it
Hmm.
doesn't, a memory of that, I don't know, object, alien, creature, whatever you want, doesn't exist already saved in the human consciousness, your brain will not even see it. I mean, it could be an alien, could be in front of you, or not an alien, I don't know, another creature from Earth that we don't know about it. We never encountered it in our history of humanity, as a species. Your brain will not sense it in front of you, cannot decode that information. So you don't see it. You have
So we
no
could
knowledge
be.
that
So we could
something
be.
in.
So basically, we could be around aliens occupying the same space on the Earth, and we will not know, right?
Of course, I mean,
Right.
everything must be efficient. All the space that we occupy, we share it with a lot of other things, creatures, whatever the heck, through dimension, superposition, all sorts of other things.
Hmm.
In one point, there can coexist 10,000 things. So it's absolutely normal.
What do you think, Anomaly? Sai?
I agree because I can sense them.
Hmm.
I think we only see 1%, right, of the visual, and we hear actually more than we can see um, in terms of spectrum frequency. But yeah, they're definitely
How much
like
do we
where
see?
we're in them. We are inside. We are like small, or we are like really big, and they are
Hmm.
inside us, or something like that. I don't know how else to describe.
How much do we see from? I think we cannot see black matter, right? How much do we actually see from the universe? I think it's a very small percent. I think 1%. Um, do you any of you guys know?
About 1%.
So that means we are not able to see 99% of what is occurring in reality. I mean, imagine what actually is behind the scenes or behind the veil. That would be amazing, huh? What do you think?
Oh, the things I was thinking was you mentioned the wind, and
Mhm.
you don't see the wind, but you see the effects of the wind. You see things moving in the wind. You can feel the wind on your face, but you don't actually see the wind. And maybe we can detect the effects of these things, even though we can't see them.
Mhm.
Um, they have to interact in some way, right? That's even though they're not in our dimension, they're still in our space. They're still in our time.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
it's a good. That's a thinker.
Yeah.
You
You guys
know,
welcome
I
to. You guys welcome to talk as much as you want. We have an hour to cover, so just
right
I
on.
think it's pretty okay that we can't see everything that it's sharing the space with us, because if we could see everything, it would be so fucking crowded, you know?
Right,
I
so it's
mean,
like a video game server.
It would be
Or like
It'd be
scary.
like if you took all the servers and put them into one server.
Yeah, and you had instances like even in like World of Warcraft, you're not seeing everyone in the server or around you. There's like 50 different instances of, the main cities, and you're just seeing the people in your instance. Like
Yeah.
there's even server division within the server itself.
That's
Fascinating.
Dudanon, what do you think?
I think that with training and dedication, using the same techniques for deep meditation, 3D eye puzzles, and other different tools, you can increase your 1% to around 10%. And then if you add in any latent subconscious, unconscious, spiritual, or psychic ability, you can probably crank that up to about 50% of your conscious awareness, senses, and hearing to detect not only the movement of non-physical entities, but also perceiving where they are, changes in your environment, as well as projections of their consciousness, not just of spiritual things, but of psychic as well.
Okay. Spectre, what do you think? Spectre?
Yeah, I'm right here. Yeah, I just I had a part 2 to that as well. When I was thinking about that, if we have things we can't see, maybe we've gone to war with them, and the government hasn't been actually telling people. It's might have because the thing is that it correlates with nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons, my theory is that it penetrates dimensions. The bomb, it could penetrate certain areas, and if you look at where they've tested nuclear weapons, it's very random. The very random spots. So it's like, are they attacked? Did they go to war with them? Like, what happened? You know what I mean?
But
It just opens the whole box.
but if you
It's
cannot
like
see them, if you cannot see them, you cannot perceive them. How can you go to war with something like this? Is unknown.
Who knows? Like you said, maybe psychic abilities open it up. And there are people that are psychics, like these remote viewers, who claim to see certain entities in the remote viewing. Perhaps they help locate.
So maybe they're opening doorways.
I'm not sure about that, but maybe I don't know too much about like the doorways or anything, how they get into this. I don't know like the mechanics of it. But what I can tell is that I did some research on the bombs or whatever, and they do affect other like regions and space, and it has to do with molecules and atoms, and it's a whole big who knows. It's an unknown, but it's fun to think about. This is, by the way, this is allegedly. I'm not like, this is not like, you know what I mean. I don't want to get like MIB'd here.
Yeah, we're just brainstorming ideas. We're not. We're I do have an interesting story, but that'll come for later.
You can say it.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the opportunity to.
Hello, I'm back. What's up? What did I miss?
What happened?
Well, I'm about to tell the story, I think.
Go ahead.
So we're talking about these advanced aliens, but what if, like in your original question, to where maybe we're the first ones, but what if let's say there's a planet 100 light years away that has a civilization that's on par with us, and maybe they discover radio at about the same time we do, and our signals will eventually reach both planets with the radio signals. So before we're even like aware of each other, we're starting to get each other's TV programs, right? That would probably give us time to get ready for each other, if that makes sense. it's hard to put into words, but like being aware of each other without being in reach of each other would probably be the most successful of the first contacts that I could think for. You know, like maybe you guys meet in the middle. Maybe you meet 50 light years in the middle and shorten the times for both civilizations by 50 years.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean that's the thing,
And
we could be.
well, I was thinking, how long has radio been around? How far could it reach to where it would still be maybe a little watchable, maybe to where it even intercepts the TV signals, and suddenly you're getting Gleeborp's Adventures on where Channel 2 is supposed to be.
Another thing is,
It-
how do
it-
we know? How do we know that the other civilization will make technology the same way we did? I mean, they can do things so different that we cannot imagine, as they will have a different
yeah.
perspective.
Oh yeah, they would have a different physiology, but maybe it's just the civilization started at around the same time in this scenario. They're around however far the radio has been out in light years away, and suddenly they're like their TV signals. It would be very disruptive, but before you're even building rockets to go meet each other, you're learning about each other's cultures through television, essentially.
Mhm.
And we would absorb their culture. We would, they would absorb our culture, and eventually, when we come together, we'll have each other's languages down.
Yeah.
We'll have watched their history unfold, just like they'll watch World War II happen and Vietnam and the hippie days. They'll watch all this on TV, and they'll be with us in our struggles too.
Sure. Mr. Novari, what do you think? Novari? Anomaly, what do you think? I think Mr. Novari is quiet.
What was the question?
Were we discussing or side?
I'm just thinking to myself right now, so I don't want to say anything yet.
We will.
No, I was thinking, what if a previous civilization came to the technological stage in which they were a little bit, let's say, more advanced than us, and they got to colonize a planet or two. And when a catastrophic event happened, they just, found shelter on the different planet. And after a while, if they would come back on Earth, they would probably be seen as the extraterrestrials from nowadays, those of which you are talking about. Also, what if Elon Musk, for example, because he has all the money that he would need, would decide to go on Mars, and from Mars he would also find the technology to come back on Earth, but not nowadays or in the future, but in the past, in the time of, let's say, Leonardo da Vinci.
Alter the block universe from the past. Yeah.
And would paint, a certain UFO in his painting. Wouldn't be fun, to be our own aliens or our own extra.
Right.
That could be, yeah. Carlos, are we alone in the universe? Hi, Carlos, welcome. Are we alone in the universe?
Talking to me?
Yeah.
We're absolutely not, no. But I think what people get wrong is they think that an extraterrestrial is flying around in a snail ship, in an ordinary way, and that we should expect to encounter them the same way that we'd imagine encountering, which is like taking a spaceship and flying around the galaxy. I don't think aliens are like that. I think they're actually able to transverse dimensions. So it's like we're looking for the wrong thing. People are expecting the wrong thing, and then they don't see the right thing. Like, they think about it differently than At least my encounters have been.
Oh yeah. What use would these aliens that can teleport dimensions even have with us? That's why my big what if is either maybe slightly ahead, maybe very similar technological civilization that's out there. They would have to abide by our rules because they're our equals. They're not flying around dimensions and stuff.
I don't think there are our equals somewhere there in the solar system. I think all of the planets out there that we see.
Well, not the solar system. I'm talking like 100 light years away.
So, like Earth is an extremely luxury planet. Earth is like a designer planet. It's a certain distance from the sun. The moon is exactly positioned correctly. It's a designer planet. Like, if we were
we're finding a lot of super Earths in the habitable zone.
Well, probably they were designer fucking planets too, because the idea that we're getting to in our research, which no scientist really wants to even approach, is that we appear to be gene edited. Like a lot of our, like unique peculiar traits appear to have been gene edited, which is not a nice pill to swallow, but it leads and it follows and it makes sense that all the gods and stuff that were talked about in ancient times, are the same types of existences that gene edited us into existence.
Right.
So for us to expect, they're flying around in spaceships, maybe not. We might be in their culture in a petri dish, for all we know, and the universe and our perception of it might just be an extension of that petri dish, and we're not looking at it correctly at all because it's like a different kind of dimensionality.
Correct. Maybe they don't even interact with us. They just
interfere.
If you walk through them, and I'm even putting "walk through them" in quotations because it's not even something to them.
Maybe they interfere all the time, and it's just like a scientist interferes with the culture of frickin' bacteria or amoebas in the same way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Could we be the gods? Could it be that we actually create ourselves from another dimension, and then we enter this dimension to experience this realm and the way we are, and that we forgot that we are actually the creators? Could that be possible? Carlos, what do you think?
I definitely think so. I mean, I think what makes humanity unique, eating from the tree of good and evil, and the serpent was literally like, ye shall be as gods. Like, why did he say ye shall be as gods, knowing both good and evil? Because the second that they lost their innocence, humanity was also able to attain godhood. They paid the price for it, but they also unlocked the potential to transcend and become creators themselves. And that was the great sin of Lucifer, is that he gave mankind that ability.
That's true. I mean, I do agree with you with the idea that grace will not be coming in a spaceship. That's just too primitive to be moving through space with spaceships. I think if somebody is advanced enough, they will move through time and space in moments, right?
Yeah, they could move through time. They could transverse time the way that we transverse space. So it's like if you think of like Interstellar, where there's all those hallways and you can walk right into the hallway and you're in a certain place in space-time. You know what I mean? Like you can literally like walk through it.
They could also not be constrained by time. They could move maybe through the past, the future, and the present.
Something?
Oh yeah.
I just heard that that religions were created by aliens like the Anunnaki to control humans and divide them. They introduced racism through genetic editing. So the real culprits you should be looking for are the Anunnaki. They're the foreigners of humanity.
The origin of Illuminati and that whole idea, and the original mystery cult, the one that's been passed down through Egypt and before that through Babylon, was an Anunnaki mystery tradition. Like the Anunnaki are the ones who were the kingmakers. They're the ones who decided the divine bloodlines. That's how the pharaohs were chosen, is because they had the blessings of, you know what I mean, those godlike shining ones. So it's like the original Illuminati, the original source of all the Freemasonry and all of those other secret traditions, literally Anunnaki, in my opinion. Even the origin words are quite similar.
Yeah, that's why they value the bloodlines. The bloodlines control the world. They're all Illuminati. You should look up Penny Bradley. She has direct experience with secret space programs and the aliens. She has interacted with them. You can probably she has her own show too. It's called Penny Bradley. And you can try to interview her, Lucifer. Get on here. Get on this show.
Okay.
He has some interesting insight.
Weebu, any comments? Did we create ourselves?
Always.
I feel like we're a bit of a recreation, actually, of something that once was natural, but now we're not.
What were you going to say?
I told you, always. We always recreate ourselves. Grace to all the technology that we reinvent, rediscover. We keep also recreating ourselves.
As a species, we also continue to repeat cycles. You know what I mean? The cycle of, the Great Reset and, the end of time is the beginning of time. But we repeat and we repeat as a species. And honestly, here's my weird belief. I believe the Anunnaki has everybody's genetic information and that they can re-render reality in a video game-like manner. Like, I believe, like, once we wipe ourselves out, like, the Matrix is reloaded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but who created the Anunnakis then?
What?
Who created the Anunnakis then?
Probably higher orders of beings,
Well, those higher order of beings also have all the information the Anunnaki have, and the information
we have
of
that information
and
too.
so on. And in the end, we have all that fucking information about Anunnaki and the higher beings that we imagine that there are, and so on. So we also are the creators of those Anunnaki and higher beings,
Yes, I think also if you go far enough up the order, you go back to zero, you go back to the Ein Sof Ar, the unknowable source of everything, and all that too. It's just projection. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
smaller.
The more you go into the future, the more you go into the past, actually. So yeah, it's exactly like that,
I agree.
Could there be other beings that exist within the space that we are inhabiting? Like, could there be other beings existing in the same Earth that we are living, but in a different dimension of space?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a different dimension of space, like a hyperdimensional. I've looked recently at these what appeared to me to be hyperdimensional glyphs, and they translate everything that we see in like all of the mystery traditions. Like for example, there's this picture of the brain, sort of, and it's like a cross slice, and there's this tube that extends from the brain to this thing that looks like a portal. And like what it's implying is our consciousness travels through that little tube into the portal. That's how we get to the dream world. That's where, how DMT is the triggering catalyst. Well, DMT pulls our consciousness into that little cord, and we literally translate through dimensions. Like, that's why dreams are so different than reality. And that's why, like, going through the tunnel, going through the light, like, like other beings do have this information and might actually be giving it to us now. There might be orders of beings that have our best interest at heart, are trying to teach us to advance our science greatly, to like avoid some kind of reset,
Could dreams be real? Could dreams be perhaps a vision of a past or a future, or maybe our present moment, but in a different?
I had this one month, in 2021, almost 2021. It was 2020 right before the change of the year. And for this month, I had these dreams over and over and over again, super lucid, of being lost, of trying to search for something, of not being able to find it, of trying to get to England, of like all this bad shit happening to me along the way. And every single day when I woke up, I'd be like, oh, thank God that one wasn't real. But I'd have the dream again. And I had it every single night for a month. And every single thing over the next 2 years happened to me. All of them happened. It all came real. So it was like my brain back then was warning me, trying to prepare me, like, this is going to happen to you. Like, it really drilled it into my head, and it did happen.
Okay. Spectre, what do you think of all the things we've been saying?
I'm just sitting here and listening, man. I'm just chewing on, seeing what.
But yeah,
they're good ideas.
Any comments about it? Anomaly?
No,
yeah, just say.
I think that the tablets of Thoth and all that, the mystery. You guys are talking about the mystery schools, and yeah, there's definitely been some sort of osmosis, right, from Egypt to Judaism. This system that they've created, right, which the United States, look at the dollar. It's Masons, right? And that's a type of Kabbalah. You know, so
Mhm.
they've used these type of a rule set, like a rule set. You know, like two parties, right?
Yeah.
Left and right, duality, to basically make something great. You know, and I think that it's better to learn, you know, about these things and not be dogmatic. And a lot of people get in traps of saying, you know, one religion is better than the other. I just think it's better to just see what tools work for you and just
Mhm.
use them and see if they work, you know, and use them for your advantage
I
and for
think
the
if you,
betterment of humanity too. I mean, that's the overarching goal, because I think in my belief system, the Creator has good intentions for us, and I think if we align ourselves with that good intention, He'll help us out.
okay. Anomaly,
Yes.
anything you want to say?
Oh. Then
Yeah, I can say a few things real quick. I'm not
Sure.
at home, but
I'm busy playing this game right now. But like, what did you want to ask me?
Well, we were talking about all these different subjects.
Right. I'm just
What
listening.
would you
Yeah.
like to? Well, let's see.
Okay. You were
Whatever.
talking about dreams, and then moved on to Kabbalah. So I think they're all accurate.
I think if we are to learn the truth, we must explore different systems and beliefs. You know, different cultures and structures, so we can find, I guess, the root of reality. If we bound
Yeah.
ourselves to, yeah.
Like every mystic tradition, every religion has many pieces converging upon these essential truths. And like as we've become a globalized civilization and we're exchanging information much faster, I think it's much more evident that all of these paths converge in certain ways. The more and more they converge, the more we can derive that there's some kind of essential truth there. And I think it is by putting our heads together and taking like all of the kind of crown jewels from each one of these mythologies and religions, we can come to something greater, something transcendent, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Carlos, I asked a few questions before you got here, so let me ask them to you. Um, were the events like the government and the media, you know, spreading the UFOs and grays and the balloons and all that, could that have been a distraction away from the economy, the Ukraine issue? I mean, could this have been like an
I
intelligence
don't think
answer?
so. No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think because they're still spending quite a lot of energy on Ukraine and all of that. There's quite a lot of propaganda. There's quite a lot of money going to that. But here's my suspicion about the whole UFO thing. They recently changed the law so that the government can openly be involved in the media and they can openly kind of talk about their involvement in psyops. Like they can be openly involved. Around the same time, we've had the UAP task force, we've had all of these methods of disclosure. My opinion is that the truth is going to become impossible for them to contain in some way in the near future. Like, eventually, it's going to be overwhelmingly obvious to everyone. And right now, they need to try and set a framework or try to prepare people for something really crazy and fucked up that they know about reality that nobody else does, you know? So it's like, I think they're slowly trying to like ease us into a full disclosure. I think because they have to. I think because they recognize like in the sooner immediate future, you know what I mean? Like people are going to panic and freak out if they don't lay the stage for whatever it is.
What if the aliens were actually our creations? What if we wished to see them and then we manifested them and we just witnessed our own imagination? I mean,
Totally possible. Totally possible. But how would people react to that? They would react as if they weren't manifested. You know what I mean? Like you and I could be like, oh, we manifested them, and we could be right. But would it make a difference on the impact it had on society? I doubt it. People are going to look at it, not think about it that way. You know, so it's like, why did we manifest it as a culture? Because, you know, when I talk to people about this alien disclosure thing, the one thing they all say to me is, I want the aliens to come. I want them to take me. I want them to take over. I want them to stand up and like change everything because everything sucks. And like literally everybody says that. So like maybe we did manifest it, you know?
what is this universe, Carlos? Are we the universe or is the universe outside ourselves?
No, we are entirely our consciousness, our existence here is the foundation for everything else. It's like, think about it like a video game. What is a video game without a player? Nothing. Doesn't exist. Not rendered. Nowhere. You know what I mean? The video game is the player. And like, what's outside the video game? A higher order of reality that we're not aware of. Yeah. You know what I mean? But we're in the video game. It doesn't mean it's a matrix or a simulation. It just means it's a hologram and we're in this layer of it right now. You know? But is it real without us here, or without something conscious, an animal, something flying around? No, I don't think so. I think the player is the game.
Yeah, I agree. So that means that if, let's say, we can induce 2 million people to think that there's going to be an earthquake, if we are the universe, if we are the earth, if we are all atomic reality, that means that if we can
Create it. Yeah.
We can create it, right?
Actually, with a powerful enough reality bender, someone can create it on their own. There are different orders of reality benders, and it's like their effect on, like, their consciousness has a different degree of effect on actual reality. So it's like you can have two people of a certain exponential consciousness ability that could do something that, 100,000 normal people would have to come together to reality shift into existence. I think that's the origin of the nobody me. Is like there's somebody that is the most powerful reality bender that doesn't need anyone else to do it, that can just change reality. Yeah.
Mr. Nobody, what do you think?
What?
Mr. Nobody, I was asking Mr. Nobody.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could I get the question one more time? I kind of was on a whole different thought process.
We were talking about the universe being ourselves, which means that if, let's say, 2 million people were to wish an earthquake or a tsunami, could the will or the belief that this actuality could come into be manifest that outcome?
Oh yeah, I absolutely. That way between, well, I guess the universe in itself through its multiple agents. Like, we are all the universe. I know it's that fucking Bill Hicks tool crap, but we are all literally the universe experiencing itself subjectively to better understand the whole by interacting each of its individual parts, you know?
We will.
I don't know, like okay, so the Big Bang happened, right? And we broke apart from unity into multiplicity, and we are going in that trajectory of experiencing and becoming whole again. That makes sense. Like, we're becoming back to zero. We started at zero, exploded into our multiple parts, and then we're going to hit some sort of, I don't know if you call it an event horizon, where we start turning back towards the source.
What did we forget?
Speed up.
Why did we forget ourselves?
Well, when you are undifferentiated unity of consciousness, there's nothing to experience that. It gets very lonely as zero, you know? So there needs to be something to experience zero, and then that experience makes two, which therefore makes three. And, well, really, -1 and 1 equals 0, which makes the 2 and 3, but all numbers come from that, you know?
I was thinking, cool, in reality, we've been actually trying to use the grace unconsciously to awaken ourselves into our true nature. Kylos?
Well, the Greys made a mistake, supposedly, and their mistake was they pursued technology to its ultimate end, and they pursued immortality to its ultimate end, and eventually their genetic code died out. Like, all of the variation in their species died out. Like, the divine spark kind of that makes humanity has to do with us dying. It has to do with, sexual reproduction. Like, let's say you live 1,000 years. Why have a kid? Why should anything in the universe change? Why should anything mean anything? because there's no death, there's no urgency, there's no, you know what I mean? So the Greys burn out their whole, you know what I mean? Like everything that makes life sort of a spiritual journey, the Greys burnt that out. And them being here now is a warning to us. Like if we go in this direction of like pure science, no spirit, like everybody's immortal, like gene editing, like AI, like we pursue that completely with no balance, like maybe we are the Greys in the future. You know what I mean? Maybe the Greys came to show us what we literally turn into.
Oh, yeah, I'm just kind of wondering.
What do you think?
I have a very different opinion about the Greys, so
Okay.
I don't think that you want to hear it.
No, say it.
No, honestly, I think all this thing with the Greys is just a human experiment, you know?
Yeah.
And
That's kind of where I was going too.
I think it started right at the end of the World War II when the German doctor scientists were working onto transforming some people to fit into their Bell project, into their anti-gravity devices, however you want to call them, you know. And with the Operation Paperclip, it was imported in the United States, where they kept going on this project in the military bases that you guys have there, you know. And they were trying actually to make a sort of to engineer a human being, shorter human being who is capable to withstand an intergalactic flight, you know? And that's how they came to get to these gray aliens. Well, if you combine this experiment with the alien agenda that was set up in those times, you can understand why this story with the gray aliens came to be, you know? And why they were presented as aliens who were actually bringing some technology and, you know, all those myths. They shake the hands with the American government, and that's how they get a lot of scientific information to make some technological steps, you know. But I think they already had that information from time and time ago, saved in all sort of books, scrolls, and all that, probably from a previous civilization, and they wanted to recreate it, and it was not given by any alien species. You know, it was always on Earth.
Okay.
That's why I tell you that this is my opinion on race. It's just an experiment, you know, and that's it. We don't have to take it so much, so seriously in consideration, you know.
Okay.
As you saw, I mean, lately, even this, all the rumors about the Greys are no more, how to put it, so public or so much around. You have to dig for this kind of information because it was only a trend for like 30, 40 years, maybe. And after that, it died by itself because now we have to imagine other sort of aliens out there, not the Greys. They are insignificant for now, you know.
Yeah. Kat, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was actually going to go along with Wu that these things are just experimenting on us. They have no. They're not against us in any way, but it's like the scientist and the petri dish idea that we started with. You know, they just have no feelings towards us. They don't care. We're just experiments to them.
Okay. Dudanon?
When it comes to the topic of the gray ETs, there's different races and species of them, and they fall into different types, kind of like a specialized caste system, because they were very technologically advanced to their detriment, where they basically became a slave to the technology.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of other races took advantage of that early on during their early expansion periods. And for them to actually have a future, because like many races, how they kind of wanted to get more spirituality back, more reproductivity back, they tried gene splicing themselves into different races, and it was a failure because they forgot that they were once a root race where they actually had their own natural reproductive capabilities that they just threw away in their own expansion. And they'd have to travel back to where they came from and restore that artificially so they could have something to fall back on so their race doesn't die.
Right. And of course, we're a perfect match for them. So, you know,
Okay.
they're going to experiment on us mostly because they can reproduce with us. Like he said, until now, they've failed with every other race out there in the
I'd
stars.
imagine that these beings are so advanced, they will understand the genetics.
Well, I've heard of hybrid children before between the Greys and the humans, so we can reproduce with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, from their point of view, we're nothing to them, but from our point of view, you know, they're this scary alien that's trying to make babies with us. And I do mean to stay serious on the topic that, you know, that's what we're for them, is to make these hybrid children. There's several names for them, of, you know, Star Child,
gray aliens, they got
Indigo
defeated.
Child.
Like, I heard there was a war in the Galactic Federation of Worlds. They intervened and defeated all
You
the
know,
gray aliens.
now where would all their DNA be if they were all defeated? It would be in these hybrid children now, wouldn't it?
Okay, but I heard there is intervention.
There's still a population of them here on Earth.
Okay.
If they've been wiped out, they're still here.
You guys are just mixing the Grey's mythology, so-called mythology, with the indigo children from Theosophists now. Honestly, what are you going to do?
Well,
I mean, there are two different concepts coming from two different, parts.
I mean, are they though? If we can reproduce with these things, wouldn't they just use us for that?
I don't know, honestly.
More specifically, like as a DNA bank for their DNA.
It's not that the Earth is populated by Greys in so many numbers that we have to reproduce with them. I mean, most of the human people don't want to reproduce anyway with other humans. You figure it out if they had reproduced with Greys now. I mean,
You got this beady-eyed alien man here, and he's like, "Hey, make a baby. Do you see the problem here?"
The problem is only in our mind. I don't even know if Greys actually exist or not.
I think you exist. I can hear you.
How many of those plays are made in a Hollywood studio, for example?
Right. Well, that goes back to your idea of these ideas being made real.
Yeah.
If we make these ideas, they exist out there somewhere, right?
Yeah, but they are so short, we would be like Nephilims for them, Imagine that.
Oh yeah, they would be all for it, but would you? Nah.
Carlos, I have a question for you. This is one of the questions I asked to them. Could we be the first civilization? Could there be nothing else in this universe, and we are actually the first ones? I mean, people often talk about the universe teeming with entities and beings and civilizations. But would you consider that we are actually the first one to emerge in this universe?
I have a hard time believing that, just because I've encountered beings that, like, it's possible. Are we the origin of more advanced beings? I guess that's possible, but I don't know what the evidence for it is. Like, in another sense, too, time is cyclical. So it's like, are we really ever starting? Like, is history ever actually history? Like, no, the history is a product of what we're doing in the present. History is a product of who is in the present and what their actions are and, like, you know, what the storyline is. Like, history is rendered just like the backstory of a video game. Yes, it exists solidly right now in this moment, but you could wake up tomorrow, the world could have a different history, you wouldn't realize it because all your memories would match the new timeline, unless you were a freaking timeline jumper, in which case you'd remember that there was a change, and that's what the Mandela effect is, basically. Like, that is the Mandela effect, like, remembering different world lines. Like, some people can, some people can't. Like, it's interesting.
But think about it.
I
If
love
we
the
were there,
paranormal.
yes, Anomaly?
So I was saying that I can guarantee you that demons exist because I've been attacked by them many times. Like, these things are real. Like, I don't know if there are aliens, demons, angels. They are real.
These entities are real, for sure. It's just like, the only question could be is like, did the aliens actually come as a result from us right now, and we're experiencing the future of what we're doing now in the present? It's possible, but I would need more evidence of it, you know? Because these orders of beings are a lot more powerful, it seems, than we are.
I was thinking, could there have been another civilization, maybe other civilizations? I mean, it has that existed prior, let's say, to the dinosaurs. I don't know that they were lost, and could they be the aliens? A previous civilization that existed on Earth. We don't know what really happened on Earth. We only know,
some people say that the Mayans disappeared actually because they just went back to their origin, wherever that was, home planet. Like, they say it's possible that their civilization just checked out in some way, because a lot of them just disappeared. Like, there's no trace of them historically after a certain time, and they were, you know what I mean? Like, their ziggurats and all that. Like, either they were descendants of some kind of other civilization or were that civilization. But unfortunately, with history, it's like, other than remote viewing it, we're really just guessing.
I mean, it could be that the Mayans of other civilizations didn't went to another planet or another galaxy, but they simply went into a different type of a dimension in time and space.
I think it is dimensional.
Or I think they could have ascended. Like, when was the Mayan civilization?
Ascension is dimension travel. This is what science is about to figure out.
They either ascended or they got harvested.
Like, okay, the idea of Enoch walking with God and was no more, he figured out how to literally, like, shadow walk, like, walk out of this dimension, like, into, you know, the way that higher beings and higher entities get around, which is not by transversing space, but by leaving the paradigm, leaving the Mandelbrot set, and being free to, you know, enter into any phase of reality, any time of reality, like a higher, different order of reality. So, like, to phase out of this reality, all you have to do is your consciousness has to vibrate at a certain way, you know, at a certain frequency, and then you phase into, literally, like, whatever the other dimensionality is, you can phase into it. Like, if you think of the world like a tesseract, you know what I mean? Like, the whole point of the labyrinth, which is really interesting, like, people walking the labyrinth, is because it also pertains to how you walk between dimensions, which is like Shambhala. You travel without actually traveling through space, but you move in a certain way, in a certain direction, in that you actually, like, move the tesseract of reality and, like, enter into a different phase of it. And it's, like, both a conscious thing and, like, a physical thing. It's really interesting. But this is, like, ancient knowledge that we've totally lost because we've gone entirely in the other direction of, like, let's go into the cold, vacuous hell of space, which makes our eyeballs pop out, instead of, like, learning the actual, you know, ancient traditions, which you can transfer dimensions just by, you know what I mean, learning how to control your consciousness.
Perhaps our journey was not meant to go into outer space, but to go inwardly into
inner space.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
if you can match up your inner world to the environment and they're both in perfect resonance, like, you become something greater. You know what I mean? That's what ascension is, I think. You vibrate it, like, the exact same way as, you know.
Yeah.
the signal, you know.
Scythe, what
But
do you
does it
think?
really
Yes,
matter
baby?
where you go? If you go inward, the outward is not an expression of the inward. What? Honestly,
I think it
it really
is.
matters. It really matters the direction. I mean, it's just space that you create in your mind, you know?
I think that your inner space is outer space. I think what you create in your inner world is what you see around you. It's the filter you put on your experience with the world. And so, like, your experience inside of you ends up becoming your outer experience in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. We conclude the first part of the podcast held on March 17, 2023, of the title The Cosmos, Interdimensional Beings, UFOs, and Other Peculiarities. The second part of the conversation we will premiere a day or two after this one does. So for now, see you soon. Good night, friends.